Joe Biden is now President of the United States. As you all know, social media censorship is growing and we are being hit as well. The best way to stay connected with us and to support us is to sign up for our newsletter. Just go to the pulseofisrael.com website and sign up for the newsletter. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. Now, if you are one of those celebrating Biden being president, then I don't want to ruin your celebration. Honestly, I'm happy that you are happy, even though in my eyes, this is not something to celebrate. But those are the cards we are dealt with now. In any case, the rest of this video is not necessarily for you. You can just skip it and keep your blood pressure low. For everyone else who understands that a massive injustice was just done with Biden becoming president, this video is for you. As I explained in my last election video, I held out until the last moment giving justice a chance because that is me. Not giving up on standing up for justice. Even though the Obama, Biden, Harris establishment, media, social media world successfully replaced the Trump administration with President Biden, the path for justice is not over and the chess game is still on. This is, yes, a major loss, but it's not about the man, President Trump. It never has been about the man, President Trump. It's about the purpose and the public that he represented. As I've continuously said since before the elections, this was an election between those who believe the agenda-driven establishment media and those who do not. We have this in Israel as well. So do not get discouraged. This is a very, very big challenge to overcome. If Trump haters were able to spend 4 years lying about a Russia hoax with Obama spying on President Trump, even before he became president, and then having the Democratic Party use foreign interference with the fake Steele dossier to try to bring down President Trump, then don't let anyone shut you up about the irregularities and alleged election fraud that the authorities and courts never seriously dealt with to investigate the integrity of the 2020 elections. Yes, Joe Biden is now president. But the truth about the elections? And the truth about the event on January 6th at the Capitol, where the police stood by and let it happen, the truth will come out one day. Whether tomorrow, next week, in a month, or in 10 years, don't worry, the truth will be revealed. I want to remind you all, it took years for people to wake up and realize that the Israeli politicians, rabbis, community and organizational leaders in the United States and Israel led us all astray about the Gush Katif Gaza expulsion back in 2005, saying that it was the right thing to do and it will bring peace, and delegitimizing all of us who protested against it. We warned everyone back then in 2005 that rockets would be shot on all of Israel from Gaza as a result of that horrific pullout. And we were the ones called crazy and delegitimized. And yet, it all came true, what we warned. So just as that truth of that injustice has been revealed, so too the truth about the elections and what happened on January 6th will be revealed one day as well. And nobody should stop you from raising your questions about the narrative from the agenda-driven media about those events. Now think about it. The fact that both China and Iran are both celebrating a Biden win should be a huge concern to all and raise huge questions in the media. But instead, these inconvenient facts are being ignored. Now, let me add two very important points of optimism. Number one, we survived 8 horrible years of an Obama presidency. We will survive the Biden presidency as well. Internalize that. It is extremely important to remember and to not let reality get you down of the situation today. Also, just as I knew that President Obama would be a disaster, yet I prayed that he would still do his best job as possible to help America, Israel, and the whole freedom-loving world. So too today, even though I know Biden's presidency will be a disaster, I still hope and pray that he does as best job as possible to help America, Israel, and the freedom-loving world. And now for the second and even more important point of optimism. Number two. Trump's presidency was a massive success, way beyond his economic and foreign policies that brought jobs back to America, and his foreign policy that made the world a safer place. While the Biden administration will do everything possible, as fast as possible, to erase all the economic and foreign policy successes of the Trump administration. There is one major accomplishment that they cannot erase. Trump awakened the spirit of freedom in Americans and freedom-loving people all over the world. It was not just Americans celebrating President Trump. It was Israelis, Taiwanese, residents of Hong Kong, British, Australians, etc. People from around the world are truly appreciative of freedom and scared of the growing partnership between big governments and media, social media, that are little by little taking rights away from the people, like the growing online censorship of accounts and censorship of information that don't fit their narrative. The Trump administration stood up for all those things. More people today know they are not alone in not trusting establishment media. More people today know they are not alone in standing up against the growing powers in the media and social media trying to censor us. And more people today are proud of expressing their patriotism. This is a movement around the world, not just in the US, that Trump and his administration accomplished in 4 years. And it is this movement that will save each and every one of our countries from the growing government, media, social media control censorship. So, even though Biden is now president, the movement around the world that the Trump administration spearheaded remains. And it is up to us to keep it alive and well and standing up for our values, truth, justice, and our proud patriotic identities. Trump started it, and his administration worked on it, and it's now up to all of us to continue, regardless of who is president. I also want to deal with the fears of growing anti-Semitism in relation to a Trump versus Biden presidency. We are constantly being told by establishment media and major Jewish organizations that the biggest threat of anti-Semitism, at least in America, is from white supremacists. Unfortunately, they are wrong and misleading everyone. The biggest form of anti-Semitism today is the support for the cause called Palestine and the two-state solution. We all know that if the Arab Muslims who identify as Palestinians were truly interested in peace, they could have had peace decades ago. No, the cause called Palestine is not about peace or self-determination. It is a movement about killing Jews and destroying the Jewish state of Israel. It always has. Hence, the cause called Palestine is the biggest manifestation of anti-Semitism today, and all government pressure upon Israel to create a Palestine leads to direct growth of anti-Semitism in the United States and around the world. How does that work? Because pressure upon Israel for the two-state solution means that we and Jews in Israel don't have a right to our ancestral homeland. Hence, support for Palestine leads to growing voices to delegitimize the Jewish right to Israel, which leads to growing support of the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, which leads to out-and-out anti-Semitism in the streets. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, IHRA, definition of anti-Semitism includes anti-Israel sentiments like denying the rights of Jews to self-determination or calling Israel a racist state. The Trump administration understood that and worked tirelessly to fight anti-Semitism and the BDS movement. Yet the Biden administration will ignore this and instead go back to a policy of condemning Israel, delegitimizing our rights in our ancestral lands in Judea and Samaria, and continuously putting pressure on Israel to create a Palestine. This is the biggest growth engine to anti-Semitism in the world and the United States, not white supremacists. The cause called Palestine is the biggest global anti-Semitic campaign ever. Back to optimism. Again, we survived 8 years of the Obama-Biden administration, constantly condemning us, as well as United Nations condemnations and United Nations votes, which were either tacitly or actively supported by the Obama White House. These were direct factors to the growth of anti-Semitism during Obama's 8 years as president, with Biden as vice president. We then had 4 miraculous years of the Trump administration without White House condemnations, and with a supportive United States ambassador in the United Nations. That was a serious barrier to the growth of anti-Semitism in the name of Palestine during the Trump years. Yet now, we are returning to more years of White House condemnations of Israel and returning to the pattern of growth of anti-Semitism via their support for the cause called Palestine. I really hope I'm wrong, but I highly doubt it. Again, for the optimism, as we survive the Obama-Biden administration, we will survive the Biden-Harris administration. It is just sad that people are oblivious to the growth of anti-Semitism that the policies of the Obama/Biden/Harris administrations lead to. While they themselves are not anti-Semites, their policies of supporting Palestine directly lead to the growth of anti-Semitism in the US and around the world. Instead, they and much of the American Jewish community will ignore the anti-Semitism of the cause called Palestine and instead focus on right-wing supremacy anti-Semitism as the true danger to America and American Jews. Now, while it is true that, yes, white supremacy anti-Semitism exists, that is not the major danger to America or American Jewry, and not nearly as dangerous or politically powerful as the growing camp of the Palestine anti-Semitism camp is. Finally, as calls for unity from the Biden administration are being heard to the American public, it is hard to take them seriously amidst the growing calls to shut down conservative voices and platforms, and even calls for the use of U.S. intelligence agencies to track those conservatives down. All while there is total silence from them about the ongoing Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots in U.S. cities taking place today, right after Biden's inauguration. So the call for unity is unfortunately a sad joke. But as I always state, hold on to your faith, everyone. God is in charge even when we are disappointed and scared. We've been through much worse. We should always only look to God for salvation, never to any man. The future is up to us, and it starts with our attitudes. We just experienced a major loss, but it is not over. Not at all, folks. Do not get depressed. Stay positive. Be positive. Hold on to your faith and keep on standing up for your values, truth, and justice.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.